These are exactly the length of a television show, and we're just flying through them.
So before I lost track of time, I was to say, like, so Vaughn is getting all super jelly of Mop Vaughn, right? And when no one's looking, he, like, javelin throws Mop Vaughn, and everyone's like, where's Mop Vaughn? Like, we're all really worried.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just that Mop Vaughn landed in, like, you know, pile of fucking gold and ethers and Phoenix Downs and whatever else they find value in this world.
In this stupid world. It does have some very great settings, though, like the sand sea.
Dude, I bet you'd die super fast in that.
Oh, you would. You certainly would.
Mop Vaughn just kicks Vaughn into it real quick from behind. Oh, guys, I'm drowning.
Because find enough dirt can actually become a liquid under certain circumstances. Usually during an earthquake, like it vibrates. Vibrates enough that it's not actually like. I guess it's not generating friction like with its nearby particles, and so you'll just sink into it.
Jeez.
Like sometimes after an earthquake, there'll be pictures of a car just like buried like half in the earth. Like what happened? Well, the ground beneath it liquefied. So because the Empire has the sacred stone of proving that you're a princess, we have to go get another sacred stone to prove that she's a princess.
Doesn't this kind of prove their point though that anybody will do?
Yeah.
I mean, how easy is it to get another sacred stone, you know? Like,
well, like getting them is very difficult because there are mechanisms in place to where only real descendants can get in and get them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, they could just swoop in and take the next rock too, and there's only 3 of them.
Arf.
Puppy arfs. I figured I'd leave in a little bit of what the game actually looks like when you're, playing it. And I'll just jump from cutscene to cutscene. It looks like this, because of course you're going to leave on 4 times speed the whole time.
You know, there's an argument to be made that the way the battle system is really aids in the storytelling that they've set up, like cinematically and everything. Like, you don't want a jarring rip into a...
Oh, yeah, having them take place on an overworld like this, it helps to make it feel like a single continuous world, and because you're on foot the whole time, it helps give that grand sense of adventure. And sometimes it's very open, like, it's difficult to see, but you can kind of see the parts of the map I haven't filled in yet. Mm-hmm. And like this part's very big, and it goes around, and there's a lot to explore here. It's quite labyrinthian, and the fact that you explore the whole thing does make it feel quite epic and fantastical in scope, appropriate for a Final Fantasy.
Like they're not all of a sudden standing in a straight line, taking turns, slapping something.
Yeah, it would feel. It'd
be more or less
like this.
Like everything you imagine our previous Final Fantasy parties doing would look like this realistically.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be stopping and be like, it's fight time, everyone take your places. It'd be just, oh shit, here's a thing, you do your job, which is to do these things, and then the gambits kick in because that's what they would do. They wouldn't have us, I mean, even though we're still in control.
Yeah. We're still in control, we can give, they would be reacting to the situation as according to their abilities, and
that guy's got a super smiley face above his butt.
Yeah, he does. I get to be on his lower back.
If only Zippy were here to meet that face.
Zippy never really existed, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's odd.
I will defend her this time.
That's the saddest thing about 10 is that, not that fucking Titus was a dream boy or something, that Zippy was...
I know, Fanny was so sad.
Zippy's like, but I thought it was real. I'm like, sorry, Zippy, you're part of a dream or something.
In the gambit system, it does help. It helps astronomically with allowing you to fight in this fashion. It kind of sucks how they do it because it's limited in how many gambits you can assign. Now, granted, there are really only a handful of abilities that you need a character to use at any given time. But there are moments where it's like, God, I wish I had 3 or 4 more gambit slots. And I'm guessing there's probably like a memory issue where like they can only, you think the game can only handle like so many different particular commands or with your party members any time, so they had to limit it. Maybe not. Maybe they just said we don't want this to be too complicated. It also sucks that you have to buy gambits. You can find them as well, and they're usually pretty cheap. And in this one, the Zodiac version, these things are cool.
Yeah.
These weird bug fucks. Also, just the sand people from Star Wars.
Riding some sand seals.
Yeah.
Bug fucks.
Yeah.
That's a good name.
Yeah, but in the original one, you had to go all over the world and buy gambits from different gambit shops. In this one, they're more or less all available from the initial gambit store. Takes a while to get enough skill to buy them, but they're there. It still sucks that you have to buy them all because there are a shitload of them. And then, what was the third problem with the gambit system? I think ultimately it's just not as engaging. Like, I would prefer if this played like Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, I would have played the shit out of it if it played like an action RPG.
And then I would prefer if Kingdom Hearts played like Bayonetta.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I want. I want an action RPG that just plays more or less like Bayonetta.
Man, I don't know if you've touched any of the other Kingdom Hearts yet in that thing.
No.
But like, shit gets wacky in that game.
Oh, sure.
Like, it gets hard to... there's no... To me, there was no real logic in fighting. It was just smash buttons and fly around the screen.
Oh, sure. The very first one, well, not the very first, the first non-mainline Kingdom Hearts, Chain of Memories, I think it is. It's the first one underneath Kingdom Hearts Final Mix on that list. I was talking to the guy at Pink Gorilla about this earlier this year, and he loves Chain of Memories, but he hates the remake they made of it. Because the original was like a GBA game. It was a top-down 2D game, and it played like a top-down 2D game, right? Like you do your thing, and like you slash through the monsters, and because it's 2D, they're all on a singular plane. Like everything just works. But then when they remade it, they made it in 3D, but it still plays like a 2D game. So he's saying like there are moments where there are maybe a line of enemies, but they're all different like heights, and so you do the slash, which normally in the original GBA one would hit them all. Now you just hit the ones.
That's
on the lower tier. It's like, yeah, the 3D remake kind of sucks for that reason. We gotta kill this big turtle.
The turtle's like, whoa.
It's a really tough turtle, too.
It's all in chains and stuff and still putting up a good fight.
Yeah, those bug fucks are called uratans, and apparently it loves to eat them.
Nice.
And so this side quest kind of sucks because it feels like a side quest, but it's actually mandatory in order to defeat a boss coming up. Because he says one of those uratans said it needed some help, and so you go and help them, and you kill the uratan eater. But the uratan don't like that, because they don't like getting help from outsiders. Apparently that's the petitioner right there. It's like, oh, they killed your turtle that you bitches couldn't handle, Kupo.
But we don't ask for help, because we have honor and shit. Now I gotta go kill myself.
They're basically Klingons. This uratan has no honor.
Now I must kill myself.
Almost. And I'll explain why this is mandatory in a moment, after we watch this cutscene.
I don't think I'd ever get used to these fish flying around.
No.
I don't think any amount of magic would explain it to me. I'd be like, why? How is this working? Like, the birds still have to flap their wings.
Yeah. No amount of magic in the world, no amount of like biological monographs that you read explaining exactly how this mechanism works. You're like, no, this is just no.
It just doesn't make sense. It just simply isn't right.
I think this is the Uratan Queen, and it has like breasts on its head, like in Little Nicky. And it also has that split mouth, like in Blade 2, Trinity.
Was Blade 2 called Trinity?
No, Blade 3 is called Trinity.
I was going to say, they really... What do they call Blade 3, then? Duality.
Oh, no. It actually just has a xenomorph dick on its forehead. Okay, we were just looking at it from this weird angle.
It's got boobs on its boobs.
Yeah, okay. I hate when people draw a bug humanoid and give it breasts.
Yeah. It's like, why?
It's like sexy bugs are a step too far.
Like, and also... And what biological sense would an insect have fucking mammary glands?
God. I was thinking about that earlier today for some reason. Like, maybe I was in the shower, like, why the fuck do they give breasts to female everything?
Yeah.
Even things that don't, suckle.
Yeah.
So, the queen of the Uratan's like, we don't seek help outside help.
Jeez, I thought the Guado were fucked up.
These things just scamper away.
They're fish things. Meh, meh.
And where that Uratan died, there's now this berry. So you have to do all that so you can click on that and get that bunch of X tier berries. Because in order to get into the Tomb of King Wraithwall, we need to fight a Garuda. But the Garuda is super tough, but it hates X tier berries. So we throw one of these berries down its throat and suddenly we can kick its ass. But when you first talk to this Moogle, this whole bit is built up like just a pure side quest.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a pure side quest.
Like no
there's
cuts to make it seem important.
Yeah, no, yeah, there's nothing to stop you from coming directly to the Tomb of Wraithwall here, fighting this Garuda, and dying, because it's impossible to beat the Garuda. Whoa.
It's a big place.
It's just a huge desert. A huge, inhospitable desert.
Oh my god, I love this. I love this. Mm-hmm. This is Zelda as fuck, right? Isn't
this
that?
This huge temple in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's real cool.
Oh yeah, Bosch is permanently silenced because I equipped him with, fuck. I forget the name of the accessory. Those various, like, princess stones that we get, that Ash needs to prove that she's the princess, but keep getting stolen from her. They give you significant bonuses, but they also have drawbacks. One of them keeps your mana constantly at 0. This one keeps you silenced. Another one has another problem. But this is the Garuda. It's all shiny and shit.
Alright, do you get to go inside this temple?
Oh yeah, we're going in there just a moment.
So how do you think temples in this game compared, or like dungeons and stuff, to previous Final Fantasies? Like, have they found a good way to make it work? Like, is it...
Oh, I think they have, because there's a lot of exploration that needs to be done. So there's a lot of just going around, scoping. It's still linear, but as I've said before, dungeons are ultimately, they can't help but be linear. They can just be very wide hallways with twists and turns, and so they feel like there's a lot. Because, yeah, you do need to go and search these nooks and crannies, see if there are chests over here or over there.
She, like, fixes her hair when she puts the fucking arrow in.
Oh, man, yeah. Well, she's got, like, all that hair. She's got to keep it in order. I think they... 10 didn't really have much by the way dungeons, did it? It kind of had like the inside sin,
cloisters.
And then it had those cloisters where things get moister. No.
Good.
No.
Good, because like that's not what...
These are I would say these are halfway between a Zelda dungeon and a Final Fantasy dungeon, in that you do need to figure out, you know, how to open this door, how to activate this teleportation pad, that sort of thing. But obviously it's not Zelda, and so there's not like platforming and that sort of complex puzzle solving. It's mostly like fight your way to the point and then activate the switch.
Because I feel like, and I'm not saying this as in like, oh man, I love Final Fantasy dungeons, but to me, a Final Fantasy dungeon is a check of your level and skills and of your inventory.
Exactly.
And I really don't like that, but I understand that that's just traditionally what it is, based on the fact that Final Fantasy was kind of like a ripoff of Dungeons & Dragons.
That's exactly where I was going to go with that sentiment, is that Final Fantasy literally needed to change the name of some monsters when they came stateside to avoid being sued for being a ripoff of Dungeons & Dragons. And so Final Fantasy dungeons have always been built in that vein of like, you go down to the thing, fight the boss, and then come out the other side. As the games, just got better, they got better about that. It's like, well, why am I... And the dungeons ceased to feel like dungeons. They were still dungeons, just as they always were, but they felt like a place you were going to organically, and the area felt organic to the area you were in. It's like, you go into the Magitech research facility in Final Fantasy VI, because it's like, oh, the Espers are being taken by the Empire and like drained of their power. We need to go check that out. And so you go down there, and a bunch of shit happens, and the status quo completely changes when you come out the other side. It's not just go down there, fight boss, get out, and then there's no point to it.
Bang your head against the wall until you find a way out, or you run out of potions.
Yeah, there's story and character development going on within the dungeon. which Dungeons and Dragons, it should always have that, but doesn't always. Sometimes Dungeons and Dragons dungeons are, depending on who designed them, are just, you know, battle simulations.
And yeah, like I could see like that being good if it's done well, like being its own flavor.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to fight.
Yeah.
Right?
Whereas like a Zelda dungeon is like very, you know, changes depending on which title it is, but I think I showed you that Boss Keys series. Like, does a really good job of explaining like what is a Zelda dungeon, like what are some typical things you find in a Zelda dungeon. It's like, we'll find an item that allows you to get further through, or find a key, fight some mini boss, fight, you know, backtrack, change the layout, solve some puzzles, fight the big boss, you know, like using the item that you got, maybe just depending on what it is. Like that, you know, that's more or less a Zelda dungeon, and so it's just, I guess, I mean, we've probably ran into some. We've already been in dungeons in 12, but they just, I guess they haven't really stood out to me as like a dungeon yet until we came to this.
Yeah, because so far, let me think about how to phrase this. This game.
Oh my gosh! Crab legs. Is this a wall?
This is a demon wall.
This is the coolest demon wall.
Yeah, it is. It's also the hardest demon wall outside of 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
This makes sense now. Like when it's just a slab inching its way towards you, that's like But this is like, this is a demon wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, you fucking flea.
This Final Fantasy is very open right from the start. You can't go everywhere. There are guards in certain places that go like, you can't go past here, or there's just stuff that prevents you from going literally anywhere, but you can go quite far and quite wide right from the start of this game. But none of the stuff that you can go to at the start would count as a dungeon. It would just be like, you know, here's an outward map, right? And so far, everything we've been in has been going just from overworld, from beat to beat. Then we get shunted off to this area and shunted off to this area. This is the first time that the map has been open and we've had to go someplace, and in going someplace, we've found our way into a dungeon.
I love the, even something as simple as the depth of field with walking down this bridge and the demon wall being out of focus, like until you get close enough to it, like that just, it makes it scarier.
Oh yeah.
Like there's always been really good potential for little scary bits in Final Fantasy, you know, like not like horror, like, you know what I mean, but just making you feel a little afraid of shit.
It's because how do I put this? This one is capable of doing that in the way that other Final Fantasies have not been, simply because of the way battles work in this one. The fact that it's in an overworld means that enemies can physically menace you. Right? In any other Final Fantasy, it's like, oh, yeah, Moroboro, kind of a scary encounter, but not a scary encounter.
Scary that you have to replay like 5 hours.
Yeah. This one, like, especially because it's a demon wall, like, it's just physically moving toward you in physical space. It's that same thing in Resident Evil. It's like, if you fought a zombie where the zombie stands here and you stand here, and then every 10 seconds you raise your gun and shoot at it, like there'd be no, it wouldn't feel menacing at all. Even if, you know, the health were the same and the damage and the stakes were the same, the fact that it's a zombie in a narrow hallway that you need to make the decision: do I want to try and juke around this? Do I want to conserve my ammunition? Do I want to try and solve this another way? Do I want to just go around to avoid this one zombie? Before this in Final Fantasy, we haven't been able to encounter enemies just in the open, so they've had no real physical presence. So yeah, this one is scary, especially if you know what a demon wall is. If this was your first Final Fantasy, like, oh, demon wall, that's a thing.
Yeah. Right?
Simply because you're seeing it for the first time, but if you fought demon walls in 4, 7... I feel like there's one more demon wall that I'm forgetting, but if you have fought them before, you know that demon wall is a son of a bitch.
In the comments, tell us where all the demon walls are.
I believe there's one in 14 now as a boss, because they're basically putting everything that's ever been in Final Fantasy in Final Fantasy 14.
How do we make this feel like a Final Fantasy? Let's put all the fucking Final Fantasy in it.
Put all of it in there. Let's give it a job system. Let's give it all the jobs that ever were, plus a bunch that weren't. let's have you fight everything. Let's put the gold saucer in there.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, flip that hair.
That is my favorite one of her victory poses. At least with the bow. Every character has a couple of poses with each different weapon type. Eventually we're going to put Penelo back on the party, and she has a fun one with the katana. Where she does, like, calisthenics.
Alright, fuck that wall
Yeah.
up. That's good.
And Bosch is still in the X Zone, which they brought back.
X Zone?
Yeah. X Zone, it was present in 5 and 6. Technically it was in 7. There was a spell called Remove, which would have the same effect where a portal opens up and then the enemies disappear into it. This one has that spell again, but it can be cast on your party members, but because of the way this game works, they just disappear for a few minutes. And while they're gone, they can't be replaced. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Especially because in that Demon Wall fight, it means that I was down a party member for most of it. That second Demon Wall is quite a bit easier than the first. The first one, it's really, well, you're more or less supposed to run away from it the first time you come here. It's just too strong.
Wow, this is grand.
This is grand, and I believe these are all hallways you can traverse.
That's... Oh man, younger me would have been like, oh god, I'm gonna walk around for 40 hours in here.
Oh yeah. I know.
It wounds me to look on as they pillage so solemn a place.
Yeah, they're really pillaging over there.
Yet without
those
help,
fucking
you and I are
pillagers.
as
Yeah.
nothing. Is this not so? He thinks ever and always on his own pride.
He has, like, on his back, he has those things you install on the walls, so you can put, like, a shelf up.
I do not
Yeah.
share your
Yeah.
Majesty's
Everybody's got a
trust.
little
We
something.
will
Yeah.
continue this later. Now we should concern ourselves with
Like
finding
Penelo's
the
got
dawn
the down pointies, which make her seem angelic. Fran's got the up butt pointy, which
Yeah.
gives her like a
Like a bunny tail, I think, is what they're going for
some
with that.
like bunny tail, but also like vicious, like scorpion. You know, like you don't want to fuck around.
Oh no, she's not a soft, cuddly bunny. This bunny bites back. Man. Crap. I guess.
Van's got nothing.
No.